Japanese knotweed is one of the world's worst weeds, but it's also one of the most misunderstood weeds. Let's bust some of the myths around it and figure out which is the best way to control this weed. Well, step one is to understand the weed. Japanese knotweed is native to Eastern Asia, and it was imported into North America and Europe in the mid-1800s. It was seen as a great horticultural plant. It was easy to grow. It easily covered areas that other plants struggle to grow in. It grows in a wide range of habitats, from dry to wet and even crappy soil. It doesn't seem to care. It forms these dense thickets that remind us of bamboo, and it has very thick stems, about 2.5 centimeters in size. They're hollow inside, much like a bamboo, but the leaves are a different shape. They're kind of a heart shape. They're quite large, so the plant looks more like a shrub than bamboo. Probably the most important characteristic of this plant is the rhizomes. It forms long rhizomes under the ground, and that's how it spreads so well. The growing tip can be 10 meters away from the mother plant. Myth number one, knotweed pierces concrete foundations. This is a common belief that has no basis and has been debunked by studies in the UK. Roots and rhizomes will grow into cracks in the foundation and over time will widen them, but this does not cause the original damage. The roots also do not grow into and damage water pipes. Myth number two, roots grow 16 feet deep. Roots can grow up to 5 feet deep in sandy soil and are even shallower in heavy clay soil. The real problem is the rhizomes, which can travel a long way from the mother plant. Myth number three, excavation is effective control. Although the roots are not very deep, excavation is not a good control method because roots and rhizomes easily break off and start growing again. Myth number four, rhizomes remain viable for 20 years. Rhizomes store nutrients and survive for years, but there's no scientific support for 20-year dormancy. Most viable pieces die off in under a decade. Myth number five, knotweed spreads by seed. In North America and Europe, almost all knotweed colonies are clones from rhizome fragments, not seeds. In 1842, Felipe von Siebold, a doctor who worked at the Dutch trading settlement in Japan, returned from his expedition to Europe and brought with him the first live samples of Japanese knotweed. It was cultivated and spread from there. It was believed that all of these plants were female, and therefore no seeds were produced. However, a male specimen of Japanese knotweed was found in southern England in 2021, and research is underway to find out how this male plant arrived. Introduced male plants could mean that the plant starts spreading by seed. Myth number six, Japanese knotweed is poisonous. Japanese knotweed is not poisonous and has been used medicinally and in food and drinks for decades. It is also harmless when touched and is safe near pets. Myth number seven, knotweed is allelopathic. Although lab tests have found toxic compounds in the plant, they are not concentrated enough to suppress other plants. They restrict other plants from growing by being aggressive and shading them out. Myth number eight, you can kill it with diesel, bleach, or glyphosate. It is claimed that you can cut it down and pour various concoctions into the hollow stem to kill it. Common items include diesel fuel, bleach, and salt. These do not work. Even glyphosate, an active ingredient in Roundup, has a limited effect. Myth number nine, mowing kills it. In theory, this should work. Repeated mowing will eventually exhaust the underground tissue, but this method can take many years. It is not an effective control method. Myth number 10, herbicides will work. Systemic herbicides like glyphosate can control the plant, but they rarely eliminate it unless repeated for multiple years. Biological herbicides and contact herbicides like vinegar don't work. Myth number 11. Tarps starve it out. Long-term geomembrane covering is often ineffective. Even 6-year tarping may not stop the plant, as hardy rhizomes find cracks and persist. Myth number 12. Thermoelectric treatment works. Thermoelectric treatment involves applying up to 5,000 volts directly to the knotweed, boiling it from the inside out, and depleting its energy reserves, making it very hard to regrow, or at least that is the claim. Such services are now available in the UK, but I found no evidence that they are effective. One site claims that thermoelectric treatment is not a one-off, but typically requires several visits during a 5 to 10-year plan. Now that you understand this weed better, what is the best way to get rid of it? What does science say about this? The most effective treatment is to use herbicides. And the method that's recommended a lot is to let the plant grow until early summer. The leaves are now fully developed. Spray the plant. Those large leaves absorb a lot of herbicide and take it down into the roots. Now that won't kill the roots, but it does set the plant back. It will continue to grow in summer, and then in fall, you apply the herbicide again. Even that's not going to kill it. You're going to have to do this for a year or two. Some of the U.S. extension offices use a slightly different procedure. They just let the plant grow all summer long and get good and strong, and then they apply the herbicide in fall. One of the problems with that is that the plant can be really tall by fall, and so you get a lot of overspray in the other areas of your garden. By doing the spraying twice, you keep the plant from getting that tall, and the spraying is more direct on the plant. So which herbicide is best? Well, it turns out that glyphosate, the active ingredient in the original Roundup, is the best herbicide for this. It doesn't harm the soil. It's extremely safe. It gets absorbed into the roots and does the damage in the roots, which is what we need for this plant. You should use a mixture that is about 5 to 8% glyphosate. Some of the pre-made mixtures are too dilute for this application. Now, gardeners love to use landscape fabric for all kinds of weeds. Now, it doesn't work for Japanese knotweed, but it can be used for other weeds. But there are good reasons why you shouldn't, and this video here explains why. And if you're concerned about Roundup and whether or not it harms your soil, have a look at this here. It's a DIY test that you can use to prove to yourself that Roundup does not harm soil. Happy gardening.